Hello, our topic is an introduction to astrological interpretation. We're going to learn the basic language of how an astrology chart is interpreted. First of all, we interpret the astrology chart by looking at the planets. When we use the word planets, we also include the sun and moon. Of course, the sun and moon are not planets, but it's just a generic term for those things out there that are moving around that we interpret. We call them planets. We don't include the Earth because in astrology we're generally looking at what's in the sky from our point of view. And we're always standing on the Earth, so we don't include the Earth. So we've got Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto is usually included as well. So those are the planets, and we're going to interpret the meaning of a planet in a sign. Well, let me show you this right off the bat. Here's a chart wheel. Okay, this is Michael Jordan, the basketball player. He was born at a certain date, time, and place. We happen to have his time from a birth certificate or birth record, so it's an accurate chart. And what the astrologer does is interpret this wheel. This is the basic thing that's done. So what is this wheel all about? Well, first of all, it's got the planets in there. And one of the first things you learn is what the symbol, or sometimes we call it the glyph of the planet is. A circle with a dot in the middle is the sun. This is pretty obviously the moon and so on. So you've got the different planets that are out in the sky somewhere. So this chart wheel is a picture of where the planets are in the sky, a very simplified picture of it that has the information that astrologers need. So each planet affects a certain part of our personality. Let's take this one. This symbol here means Saturn. So Saturn is over here in this part of the sky. What part of the sky? And the sun is over here, not too far from Saturn. What part of the sky is that? Well, let me give you an idea. On the left, now this may sound confusing at first, because when you look at a map, you know, a map of Europe or a map of Africa, a map of South America, whatever you're looking at, what's on your left on a map? What's on your left? West. What's on your right? East. What's at the top? North. What's at the bottom? South. Well, in astrology, the left is not west, it's east. So it's in the opposite direction. And this is not north. Sometimes astrologers say that this above you is north. It's not. There is no north and south, because we're talking about the sky. We're not talking about a map, of a part of the globe. So to the left of us is west. Now here's an easy way. To the left of us, sorry. The left of us is east in a chart wheel. Now here's the easy way to do this. Face south. Stand up. Face south, or move your chair and face south if you know what direction south is in. What's to your left? Okay? Face south, what's to your left? East will be to your left. Okay? So this chart wheel is where the planets are if you face south. Suppose it's 12 noon, around the middle of the day. Where would the sun be? It would be up near the top. So the sun, all the planets will rise in the east, which in the astrology chart wheel is to the left, and they're going to move. We're going to find out that these are numbered in reverse order. This is actually the 12th, 11th, 10th house. It's going to move backwards through the houses. May sound odd, but the planets during the day move backwards through the houses. At around sunrise, the sun will be somewhere over here, roughly. Around midday, it's here. Now the midday point is not halfway between the east and the west. It has to do with the way what we call the ecliptic plane, the path of the planets, doesn't go from east to west. So just take my word for it. The middle of the sky ends up not being in the middle of east and west. In the case of the date and time when Michael Jordan was born, the basketball player, this is the middle. So this is the 12th, 11th, 10th, 9th, these are called houses. So these sections, which are not 30 degrees each, are called houses. If we look at our list of things, back to our PowerPoint, We've got the planets. We know what the planets are. Sun, Moon, Mercury, etc. The planets are in signs. You've heard about signs. Aries, Taurus, Gemini. And there are houses. So signs and houses are similar. There are 12 signs. There are 12 houses. The signs have names. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, etc. The houses don't have names. They're just numbered. First, second, third house. Okay. So these colored areas around the outside are the signs. And these sections here are the houses. So what are the houses? They're taking the sky and dividing it into 12 pieces. And for some reason, they're not equally sized. We don't care about the technical details of the astronomy right now. We just want to learn how to interpret this. So the sun would rise over here in the east, go backwards through the 12th house, going backwards 12, 11, 10, 9. So the sun is here at the beginning of the 9th house. So if we count around in this direction, this is the first, second, third. There's a bolder line here because these cusps here, 1, 4, 7, and 10, are particularly important because they mark those directions of east below you, west and above you. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The sun is near the beginning of the 9th house, right? This section from here to here. I could have shown a chart wheel that actually has the house numbers here. But anyway, sun is near the beginning of the 9th house. And Saturn, this glyph here is Saturn, is in which house? Which house? 8th house, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So Saturn's in the 8th house. Now, this is how the interpretation works. Saturn has a meaning. The sun has a meaning. Saturn influences a certain part of your life. And it's in the 8th house, and it's also in a sign. So you see how signs and houses are similar. You take the sky, and the signs divide the sky into 12 equal pieces of 30 degrees. See how they're all equal in size? The houses are not equal in size, and they also divide the sky into 12 pieces. The houses divide it in terms of being east, below you, west, and above you, and the signs start with Aries, and it's based on a really abstract astronomical concept of the intersection of two planes called the ecliptic plane and the equatorial plane in a system that's called the tropical zodiac, which is more popular in the West, and there's another zodiac called the sidereal zodiac, which has a different basis to it. I have a whole set of 4 lectures on the astronomy behind astrology, but we want to interpret here. To drive a car, I don't need to know how the transmission and all those things work in detail. To interpret the chart, I really don't need to understand all the astronomy in detail. So for now, all we know is that this is called a tropical zodiac, and it happened to start over here for some reason, and I've got these 30-degree sections and are given names. First 30 degrees called Aries, next 30 degrees Taurus, next 30 degrees Gemini, and so on. Okay, let's put it all together, all right? Interpret Saturn, okay? I need to know what Saturn does to my personality. It's in the 8th house. That's going to influence the way Saturn works, and it's in Aquarius. Okay, so what part of the personality does Saturn rule? Saturn's like an old man. It's a wise old man. It's slow. It slows everything down. It frustrates you. It's very mature. It's not frivolous. It doesn't like to play. It's serious. It's ethical. Saturn's this old, wise old man in the zodiac. So even if you're a baby, you still got this wise old man in your chart. Even if you're a lady, you have a wise old man in your chart, and here's this wise old man. And he's in the 8th house. So we need to find out what the 8th house does. These are like filters, just like it shows here with the zodiac signs, like colored glass. And the light of that planet is getting filtered through Aquarius and through the 8th house. And both of those filters, like 2 sets of filters, changing the quality of the old man. Okay, so if the old man is in Aries, which is fiery and a go-getter, the old man is pretty active. He's not, just laying around. He's he's young for his age, and he wants to get things done and get things started. And different things are said about Aquarius. Some people say Aquarius is innovative and eccentric. Some say it's ideological. So you get some different meanings. Eighth house has to do with death, among other things. And Saturn is old, so you might think that there'd be issues of death in Michael Jordan's life, possibly. This is how the interpretation works. Maybe his father died when he was young, or his grandfather had a big influence over him. You get the idea how it works? You got the old man, he's in the house of death, he's in the sign of whatever you think Aquarius means, ideology or innovation, and so on. And the art of astrology is how you put those together. But first you have to learn the elemental things you're talking about. What is Saturn? For example, what's Jupiter? What does Jupiter mean? Jupiter is this big wheeling and dealing guy, an entrepreneur who travels around the world, buying and selling and making money and spending money and wheeling and dealing, outgoing, extroverted type. So everybody's got this big extrovert. But if that big extrovert is in an inhibited area, what would inhibit Jupiter? Something that's more introverted and quiet. Capricorn is more mature, and it would slow down the exuberance of Jupiter. So what sign is Jupiter in? We can just look at this section of the chart, and that's the symbol for Pisces. So Jupiter's in Pisces. It's in 19 degrees Pisces, which is about 2/3 through Pisces. Usually in astrology, we don't care that much whether you're beginning, middle, or end. But it's about 2/3 through the Pisces sign, and it's towards the end of which house? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's at the end of the 9th house. Almost in the 10th house. So the 9th house happens to be a place where Jupiter really is expressive. So this would mean that Michael Jordan would be outgoing, would travel a lot, be very influential, and so on. So, and he's got his sun in the 9th house as well. See, the sun's at the beginning of the 9th house, Jupiter's at the end of the 9th house. A lot of emphasis on, traveling and being more philosophical, things like that. And then we could see if it's true. We could, interview the person, read the biography of Michael Jordan, and see if those things are true. So that's the idea. You find out what each planet means. Mercury is your communication. Venus is, where is Venus? Over here. Right at the beginning of the 7th house. Right at the very beginning of the 7th house. 13 degrees, 12 minutes of Capricorn. The 7th house is 13 degrees, 6 minutes, right at the beginning of the 7th house. And Venus is beauty. It's like Aphrodite in mythology. It's a beautiful lady in everybody's chart. And there she is. We sometimes even call the planets he and she, which might sound kind of weird. There she is. There's Venus in the 7th house of relationships. So this would mean that his relationships with his wife, with women in general, very, very important to him. So, again, we could read his biography, find out if that's true. That would be the idea. Mars and Leo. Mars, you have an idea what Mars is. Mars is the warrior. And it's in Leo. We'll find out that Leo is also fiery, like Aries, and is magnanimous, and he has a lot of charisma. And he's energetic, an athlete, powerful athlete. So that makes sense. It's in the 2nd house. Here's the 1st house, 2nd house of money. So we find out what each house means, what each sign means, and the planet will be colored by that sign, by the qualities of that sign. How is your Mars? Is your Mars dynamic? Is your Mars energetic? In a sign like Aries or Leo, like Michael Jordan, or is it in a place like Pisces, which is considered to be more sensitive? So you're not as direct and bold. You're a little more sensitive because your Mars is in Pisces. That's the idea. You got it? That's how astrologers interpret the chart. Now the sign that's east, remember this is east, is called the rising sign because it's a sign that's literally rising when you're born, which for him is Cancer. So this rising sign is particularly important. Influences how you come across to other people, how you appear to them, what's important to you. A lot of emphasis on that. So Michael Jordan has Cancer rising. Rising just means the sign on this first house cusp. His sun is in Aquarius. Right? You learn these symbols. His moon is in Sagittarius. It happens to be 10 degrees, which would be 1/3 through the sign, but we don't often emphasize that. So we have the planets in the signs and the houses. So you want a little table to refer to memorize the glyphs, the symbols of the signs and the planets, and to get their basic meaning, just a simple, fundamental meaning, and then you begin the art of putting it together. Okay, so here's a simple tables for you. At this website, the address is AvalonAstrology.com/AGY101 cheatsheet.pdf, okay? So that's AvalonAstrology.com/AGY101 cheatsheet.pdf. If you go to that website, there's a nice little summary done by myself and my wife for a school that we teach at and that we started called the Avalon School of Astrology. You'll find lots of nice tables and information. You may have others that you like, but here's one, and there's the glyphs. If you don't know them, you can memorize them. And Aries is the first sign going from 0 to 30. Taurus is just a name for the next 30 degrees, from 30 to 60, and so on. So you memorize that. And there are the basic meanings. Aries is pioneering, innovative, direct. Taurus is slow, steady, stubborn. Just a quick, simple meaning. And again, different astrologers are going to put different emphasis. But this will get you going with some of the commonly used ideas about the zodiac signs. And then the signs are arranged. Some are fire, some are earth, some are air, some are water. And which means exactly what you think it means. Fiery means energetic, earth is down to earth, air is mental, communicative, water is emotional. So Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces are all emotional in different ways. So there's that information. There's also a cardinal fixed mutable arrangement. The fixed signs are tenacious. Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. They follow through. Mutable signs are flexible. So you get certain similarities between certain signs. All of the fire signs, for example, give energy and dynamism to whatever planet is in that sign. But there's a lot of differences between Aries, Leo, and Sag. They're very different. Each sign is different. Each house is different. And there are your houses. 1, 2, 3. And in modern astrology, Aries is related to the first house. Taurus is similar to the second house in some ways. Gemini is similar to the third house in some ways. That's an idea in modern astrology. Some of the people who follow some of the more ancient ideas don't agree that that's so important. But the first house is, like I say, is associated with Aries, and Aries is a cardinal fixed in modern astrology. Okay, excuse me. So, okay, we haven't gotten to the aspects yet. We'll get to that next. Let me go back to my PowerPoint presentation. Okay, so we know what the planets are. And you can go to this website page or any other page that you can find or a book that you might have and just memorize those symbols and memorize the meanings of each of these things. Now for the planets, we have a summary of the meanings of the planets down here. Somewhere here it is. Here's a summary of the meanings of the houses. I'm not going to go over all these because you can go over this yourself. Why should I just read to you what it says? Just go to the site and start memorizing this. Second house is what you own. your property, your money, your personal assets. Some people say it's values and ethics. Some astrologers will say, no, it's not your property and your money. That's too literal. It's more psychological. It's your values and your ethics. And people will argue about this and fight about it and say, I'm right, you're wrong. But for now, you want to get some of the common ideas about what's said. So whether you think it's your money and what you have, or whether you think it's ethics or values, you can decide as you progress with your studies. But this will give you some ideas, some images that all astrologers will agree, at least as an image, make sense. And here are the meanings of the planets. Okay, so I said Venus, aesthetic sense, art, beauty, affection, love, the ability to reconcile or negotiate, to be pleasant. There's Saturn, the wise old man, structure, discipline, concentration, severity, detachment. Some people say it separates things, isolates things. Different emphasis by different astrologers. Okay, so there's some of the basic language of astrology, and then again, all you do is connect the ideas. What if Venus, let's do an example. What if Venus is in the 7th house? What does it mean? Even if you've never done any astrology before, you can start to interpret it. Venus is the pretty girl. It's beauty, it's attractive, aesthetic sense, it's feminine, it's smooth, it's harmonious. Art, beauty, affection. We use these words like masculine and feminine in astrology in a traditional sense. Doesn't mean that all men are a certain way or all women are a certain way. You just take it more symbolically to get the feeling for it. Okay, so Venus, art, beauty, affection, and love, often romantic love, in the 7th house of partnership and friends, which is what Michael Jordan has. Venus in the 7th house means that the love relationships are very important. The marriage and romance, I mean, they're important to everybody. With Venus in the 7th house, tremendously influential over how happy they are. The ability to have a loving, romantic relationships especially, very, very important. And to have peaceful relationships, kindness in relationships becomes emphasized. Okay, so you get the idea. You just put the planet in a sign and in a house and you get the interpretation. Okay, now going back to the PowerPoint. You now know what the planets are. You now know what the chart wheel is. You now know how to see what house and what sign a planet is in. You can refer to that table at that website and try to connect the ideas. In the next video, I'm going to show you some free software you can run that will help you with this interpretation. In this first video, I'm just going to explain what the language is. Next video, I'm going to show you how to go online or download a program to run your own charts, so you can see your chart or your friend's charts, your family's charts, to look at that and even get some free interpretation to get started. So you don't have to go out and start buying a lot of stuff if you're a beginner and you want to get going. So we know what the signs are, the zodiac signs. We know what the houses are. 2 other things, and we're done with this video, and we've got the basic language, and you can study, memorize those symbols and those meanings, and start playing with it and getting a feeling for it, and you now know the fundamentals of the astrological language. And the language goes on forever. People have been doing astrology for over 2,000 years, and coming zillions of ideas. Yes, we use fixed stars and all kinds of other things, but these are some of the fundamentals that run through most of the traditions of astrology. Now, 2 more things. Aspects. Aspects are a really big deal. Aspects are the other big thing. That's the distance between the planets. We put the planets around on this circle, and you can just measure the number of degrees between them. That's all an aspect is. And particular angles are regarded as, we consider that those particular angles cause the 2 planets to interact. For example, Michael Jordan has Pluto at 11 degrees Virgo is almost exactly 90 degrees, about 89 degrees from Moon at 10 degrees Sagittarius. How did I know it was 89 degrees? Because it's in the same degree, one different. This is 11, this is 10, almost the same degree, 3 signs apart. Virgo to Libra is 1, to Scorpio is 2, to Sagittarius is 3. And if you look at astrology charts, for many, many months and years, you can just look at this and instantly see that moon is square Pluto, and there's that red line with a little square. Square means 90 degrees. So 89 is close enough to 90 that we consider them to be square. So if you're close enough, we call that the orb. Most people use maybe a 7 degree or 8 degree orb. If the two planets are within, say, 8 degrees of being 90 degrees apart, say 82 degrees to 98 degrees, within 8 degrees either way, it's considered to be square, and the closer to exactly square, the more they interact. So moon is family, feelings, memory, sentimentality. Pluto is compulsive. Obsessive means he has obsessive feelings that just come up very intensely, would be the idea. He has also moon trine Mars. 120 degrees makes a smooth connection. So in this software, the default is green, showing that it's smooth. The squares are challenging, motivating, and more difficult. So the moon, his moods, his feelings, his sentimentality is energized. It means you enjoy a competitive atmosphere. I find a lot of athletes have moon-Mars aspects because they enjoy the competition. And this is very exact. 9 Leo 57, there's 60 minutes in a degree, right almost at the end of the 9th degree. Moon is at the very beginning of the 10th degree, and so it's a 4-minute orb. Each degree is divided into 60 minutes. So it's a very exact trine, which means it's very strong, and he's very competitive, and he does it harmoniously and smoothly. He's very successful at it. So that's how it works, my friends. You would say his moon is in what house? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th, which is a house of work. He enjoys working and focusing. It's in Sagittarius, which is expressive and open. It's trine the Mars, which is all fired up and proud and commanding in Leo, in the second house of either values or money, working together. That's how the interpretation is done. And it's simply a matter of learning the meanings of the planets, the signs, and the houses, and then getting a feeling for how you combine it together. So it's a language. Astrologers say this over and over again. It's a language. You learn the language, and it's a lot of fun. Different astrologers have a different perspective on things. They have a different view on it, a different slant, a different emphasis. They see it in your lives in different ways. So it can become an endless study, almost like a game that you can study forever, like chess, to learn all the different moves. In this case, all the subtleties in the interpretation and additional things. What about the fixed stars? What about asteroids? What about this? What about other angular distances besides the most common ones, like the 90 and the 120? What other angular distances? Well, we also use 60, if they're together or they're opposite, 180. Some astrologers like myself use all kinds of angles. And some people say, no, it's too much, you don't need all that. These blue ones, these are called quincunxes. They're 150 degrees. So you learn what the different angular distances are. A quincunx between Mercury, that's a symbol for Mercury, and Uranus. And what does that mean? Well, we can go back to our table, find where the aspects are listed, and find their interpretation. Here are the different aspects. They also have symbols. And the first 5 are regarded as the most important: conjunction, opposition, square, trine, sextile. The first 3, and then the trine, sextile. And then some people use the semi-square, the semi-sextile. There's that quincunx. It has a little glyph. It's 150 degrees. It's 5/12ths of the circle. And some others. These are considered to be minor aspects. This particular information includes some of the school of astrology we call harmonic astrology. I call it vibrational astrology. It's an area that I focus on, so there's some information about that. What I've covered in this video are the basics that almost all astrologers use. There are some differences in Vedic astrology. In Vedic astrology, they have the houses, same basic idea. They have signs, but they use a sidereal zodiac. Vedic astrology is the astrology in India. And their aspects are different. So I'm showing you mostly the common modern Western ideas that are used throughout Europe, North America, South America, and some astrologers in India as well use these ideas. So that's the basic idea. I'm just scrolling through here. Lots of information, and some here on the harmonic ideas, which is more advanced. You don't really need that. But the basics are up here at the beginning of this document. Okay, so you now have the idea of how this works. Again, the 5 major aspects, 2 planets together would be a conjunction. Does Michael Jordan have any conjunctions? If we allow a 10-degree orb, not too many. Uranus and Pluto are, what, about 8 degrees apart, so they're conjunct. There are some funny-looking things on here that are actually not planets. This is called the North Node and South Node. This is called the part of fortune and the part of spirit. More advanced classes we can learn what those are. The rest are the planets distributed around in the signs, in the houses, and making aspects to each other. You've got the whole thing. The only other thing I want to mention is the rulerships. And that's my last thing to cover today. And again, in the next video, I'll show you how you can go to websites and download software to run the charts, and also to give some interpretations. What does Saturn and Aquarius in the 8th house mean? Rather than figure it out from scratch or having to go through books and buy them all, you can have the software just tell you and to help inspire your thoughts about this and give you some ideas of what a professional astrologer would say about it. So the last thing is rulerships. Rulerships are very important in most astrology. Let me just show you the rulership table to explain this. Let me go to the website, scroll down this document a little bit, and show you these rulerships. Fumbling around here. If I fumble much longer, I will just show you in my other document. Well, it's here somewhere, and I'm not seeing it there it is. Sorry. It's right here at the bottom of this page. These are called the traditional rulers. Mars rules Aries. Venus, this is a symbol for Venus, rules Taurus. Mercury rules Gemini. What does it mean to rule a sign? It means the planet's happy to be in that sign. It can really express itself directly. Aries is energetic. Mars is trying to get things done and move, and it really can move and go fast in Aries. And Venus wants to be pretty and beautiful, and Taurus has a soft quality to it, and Venus and Taurus, just a natural combination. So these are natural combinations, Sun and Leo, Mercury and Virgo, etc., where the planet expresses itself freely. And in some of the modern methods, people have started to say that instead of Mars ruling Scorpio, Pluto rules Scorpio. So there's some different ideas. These are the traditional rulers. And over here in this blue, it talks about the modern rulers. And also, let me show you this. Last thing to show you. That's the website. I already told you about that. Here's a table of rulerships. And if you want to go into really be at like professional level astrology, you memorize this table. That the Sun rules Leo. Sun can express its individual creative self very strongly in Leo. And in Aquarius, it's more difficult. This is the opposite sign. The sign opposite to the one ruled is called the detriment. It's more difficult for the sun to express its creative individuality in Aquarius, which is more group-oriented. And then exaltation is a sign that has some different qualities, but it's like being at a place that brings out the best in you. Almost like a hybrid where when the sun is in Aries, it gets a boost by the dynamic and innovative, enterprising, the initiative of Aries. The sun gets that boost by being in Aries. And the fall is a tricky place. It means you have to use more subtle ways. It's not as straightforward. It's not bad, but you have to use a different style. You have to use a more creative style. So the sun doesn't just shine glowingly in Libra, because Libra wants to share and relate and wants to share the light with other people. So these detriment and fall tend to be difficult, but you can come up with creative and interesting ways to express the energy to make it work. So that's the table, and then you memorize it. Moon, it rules Cancer. It's in detriment in Capricorn. Exalted in Taurus. Fall in Scorpio. So this is something that astrologers memorize. The blue here means the ancient ruler, the classical ruler. Mars, for over 2,000 years, ruled, well, I guess about 2,000 years, rules Aries and Scorpio. And therefore the detriment would be the opposite signs. But in the modern astrology, some astrologers, not all, but some, take these three planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, which is, by astronomers sometimes considered to be a planet. Astrologers generally consider it to be a planet. And they've assigned Uranus to Aquarius, Neptune to Pisces, and Pluto to Scorpio. And some modern astrologers don't even use the classical ruler. Now more and more people are starting to go back to the classical rulers and not assign rulerships. And some people have assigned exaltations and falls to these planets. But really, most people just emphasize the ruler. Not even the detriment is emphasized that much with the three outers, if at all. So you get some variations and ideas from different astrologers. But all astrologers agree with the basic rulerships. Jupiter definitely rules Sagittarius. Does Jupiter also rule Pisces? Some astrologers say yes, some say no. Some say Jupiter rules Sagittarius, rules Pisces and Sagittarius, and Neptune also rules Pisces. You can't go wrong if you stick with this first column of rulers through Saturn. Everybody agrees about that. And frankly, I think almost all astrologers now are beginning to agree with these blue ones as well. And it's getting to be, whether Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto rule anything or not, used to be 10, 15 years ago, most astrologers thought they did, and now they think they don't. But the rulership is important, because I'll show you one last thing with rulerships, and then we're done. The moon is in Sagittarius, but it rules Cancer. And so the sign it rules is the ascendant. So the ruler of the ascendant is in the 6th house. So this is where the interpretation gets more complex and sophisticated. It's like a board game where the planets are like pieces, and they move from the first to the second to the third, and it moves to the 6th house, but it still has an attachment. It's still attached. It has like this bond that connects it back to the first house. So even though the moon has moved over here into the 6th house, beginning of the 6th house, it's still looking back at the first, saying, there's my Cancer, where I'm at home. So it has a connection to the first house as well. I'll do one more example. Let's take Venus. Venus is in the 7th house. It rules Taurus, which is over here, which is the 11th house, and it rules Libra, which is over here in the 4th house. It means that Venus he wants his relationships to be beautiful, to have a good relationship, a romantic relationship, and a beautiful home. Although most people would actually say you don't want to really look at what house it's in so much as the cusp. Libra's on the 5th cusp. So, and Taurus is not on any cusp. It's called intercepted. So now we're getting into some of the more advanced ideas that Venus is in the 7th, it rules the 5th cusp, and it rules Taurus, which is not on any cusp, because this house is bigger than 30 degrees. So what this means is Venus, he wants romantic relationships. 5th house is sometimes considered to be games or children. He wants to have fun. And the 11th house of associates and organizations and teams. So team spirit wants the team to work harmoniously together. So that's the idea. So you look at the planet in the sign, the house, and the house it rules. That I'm at 41 minutes. I need to stop. This is a long video, and this is perfect timing to summarize. I've covered a lot of material, but I've covered the entire language of astrology that many astrologers use. Many fully professional astrologers don't use really anything beyond that language. You've learned the entire vocabulary that many astrologers use. Now, some astrologers use a very different vocabulary, expanded beyond that, but you've learned all the terminology, well, almost all of it. We haven't covered the nodes and part of fortune. Not everybody uses the part of fortune. Most astrologers use this, and that's all they use. So it got a little complicated towards the end when I started, going into these more advanced levels of astrology, but that's it. And it's not that complicated. Again, let's review. What do? You find out what the symbols of the planets are. That's the symbol for Saturn. You find out what Saturn is. It's the old man. The old man is the 8th house of death. He's in the organizational group collective sign of Aquarius. What does that mean? In the next video, I'll show you some software that will tell you what it means. Does Saturn make any aspects? Well, it's making a strong square to Neptune. And we can run the software and it will tell us what that means. What does that Saturn square Neptune mean? We can see it's very exact. They're both at 15 degrees. So it would be a strong aspect. And you would interpret that. And then, if you're really advanced, really professional, you would then look at what sign Saturn rules and say that it also has some effect on those houses as well. So Saturn rules Capricorn, and it's going to have an effect on relationships. It's not that big a deal. All you're saying is it's in the 8th, but it has a relationship to the 7th as well. So it's going to have some effect on his relationships. That's it. That's the language of astrology. Every astrologer uses different tools, different emphasis, different slant on things. My own approach to astrology is very different from most astrologers. Many different styles. But whatever style you go into, it's good to know the basics, the fundamental ideas that have been handed down and that most people use, so you can communicate and decide where you want to go from there. Okay, next video I'll show you how you can run your chart, get this information, get some ideas of what it means, and without having to spend money. And then if you continue on, you can buy books and you can buy software and get more and more sophisticated about it. And we have a lot of advanced, intermediate, and advanced videos as well. Okay, thank you very much. God bless. Namaste.